Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of D-List Diaries, your look into life after reality TV. I'm Nicole.
I'm Gina.
And I'm Kirsten.
Hello, ladies. It's so nice to see you. It's been so long.
It does feel like it's been forever. Listen, I done went to Mexico and came back, so I'm definitely feeling behind.
I am jealous of your glow.
Do I look a little tan?
You do. I'm jealous. Jealous.
I feel like I was in a conference most of the time, so I didn't get enough sun. So I feel like I came back from Mexico not looking super tan. So I appreciate it.
Gina, you do look amazing, loving the tan. I know you always love a good tan too, but I'm so happy to see y'all. I've been through so much, but nevertheless, we are all three here. The gang's back together again. Woo!
We're back!
Woo! Is this our first one together in January? Wow.
Yes.
First one of the new year. Happy 2025.
Happy 2025. What a time to be alive.
That's right. I'm saying.
This is my 20-year high school reunion.
Wow. Are you going?
I haven't heard about it yet, but I mean, I graduated in 2005. It's crazy to think. I'm like, okay, that is 20 years. Pretty nuts. And I still look this good.
Oh,
It really
okay.
is a talent.
Don't mind if you do toot your own horn, honey.
Toot, 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 toot.
I missed
Duh.
y'all. Oh my gosh.
I know, you too.
So I'm happy we are all back together because we have some topics that have been really top of mind for us lately that we want to get into. And that is boundaries, our work-life balance, and the let them theory, which I don't know if you guys are familiar, but it's something I'm really excited about. And a book just came out that we're going to talk about later.
Okay, so this is such a great topic because we often talk about our romantic relationships, but our relationships with our friends and family and ourselves are just as important. So, Gina, we actually had a comment on one of our episodes asking to hear more about your time blocking that you mentioned a few weeks ago. Can you please tell the listeners how you time block and how it's helped you with your work-life balance, because you do so well at that?
I don't do so well, but I'm attempting. I'm bringing it into 2025 because I just feel like time is valuable, and the more you add to your plate, it's impossible not to continue adding. Like with my business, everything's priority, right? Like it's not like I can just shut down and be like, oh, well, I'm not going to do that because I have to. It is definitely hard bringing in the work-life balance. And I think that every entrepreneur who really like fully owns a business will tell you there is no like work-life balance. Like you can come down or come home and shut it off and just forget about things every single day. But for the actual time blocking, I just put everything on my Google Calendar, and I really just started blocking things just like I would a client. So it's like, okay, from 10 to 11, I'm working on operational stuff. From 11 to 12, I'm working on hiring stuff, and then so on and so forth. So it's been really helpful. And then I also like to turn my phone off at night. So like if we are watching a movie or whatever, I just try not to look at my phone. I even set up alerts. Did you guys know you can check your screen time?
Yeah, I usually check my screen time, and then not only that, I'm starting to adjust to the D&D, which is do not disturb.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, I'm starting to work on that, but Nicole, I know you also have a way of managing your work-life balance and your time too. Can you tell us a little bit more about yours?
Oh, I'm actually really bad at managing. For a Libra, I have no balance. Well, I feel like, honestly, entrepreneur or not, work-life balance is just a total myth because there's literally no way you can prioritize every single thing you want to do, like work, friends, relationships, hobbies. It's impossible. So I feel like instead of a balance, and I don't know if this is the healthiest quote unquote way to do it, but I more so prioritize the things that matter in that moment. And I'm always shifting priorities. So this week, work was number one. And honestly, I have not taken care of myself, spoken to my family. Chris and I haven't really spent time together because he's been so busy. And I know that's not great, but work is going really well. So next week, I'll reprioritize. And it's not a balance, but it just works for me because I cannot focus on multiple things at once. So
It's almost like you have to make a list and
Yeah.
then categorize what's like truly a priority that day.
And that's kind of what I do for my day-to-day. So like I go to my real estate office maybe once a week, and then I host open houses on the weekend, and then I also do the podcast once a week. So I have dedicated days for my activities, and then I know for Sundays, everybody knows this, I'm spending time with my family. So Sunday is blocked out for my family and church only.
That's time blocking.
Yeah, that's time blocking.
It's time blocking. Yeah.
I do very well with time blocking and time management. And so I am very efficient with my time because I like to maximize my day. And so when I stay on my strict time schedule, Nicole, you know, I have like 10 stops sometimes. But I did tell
Always.
myself this year that I wasn't going to continue to overextend myself because I always show up for everybody. I always come whenever people call me and say, hey, can you come here? Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that? I'm always like, yes, yes, yes. That's a lot of work. So it's like I know for a fact how to balance my time because I know time is something that you can never get back. So we need to like really make for sure that we're prioritizing things that are important and not only time blocking but day blocking.
Gina, when you're time blocking, are you just doing work or administrative tasks, or is it more like from 5 to 6, I'll make dinner, 6 to 7, watch TV? Like, how granular are you getting? Because I know I'm really interested in doing more of this, and so are our listeners.
Mainly just in the business is where the time blocking comes in, because it's like we have so many different tasks that need to be done in one day, and then it changes every single week in the salon. Like the marketing changes, the hiring changes based off of what we need. Like everything is changing so quickly that it's easy, especially in like a group of women, to come in and there's different employees that will be like, hey, can you do this? Hey, can you look at this? Hey, this would be a good idea. Like the amount of times I get good ideas, and it's like you want to sit and listen to the good ideas and try to be like, okay, yeah, we should do that. But then it starts a whole entirely different job. And so I really just had to sit down and delegate my time. I really just put on the calendar, like, from this hour to this hour is going to be inventory every week. So if we don't need inventory, we're going to work on something that relates to inventory. And then from this hour to this hour is the only time I'm going to book rep or like any type of meetings that I have outside of the salon, like Zooms, essentially. And then from this time to this time, we're going to work on hiring. So that way we just know that everything kind of has a place and we're not forgetting about something or tackling things with a sense of urgency when they're not actually urgent.
Come on, boss babe. Let's go, boss babe. Slay babe.
Okay. And I'm not saying I'm 100% doing great at it. We're not like fully there, but it's just building habit. Like you have to
Yeah.
continuously build habit and then reassess and build better habits.
But see, I'm a very structured person. And so I have to have structure. I get very rigid when it comes to structure because it works. If you put a plan in place and you stick to it and you're consistent, you will see results.
That's a boundary you set for yourself, having those time blocks and following them. I know for me, I don't respect my own boundary in that sense. Like, I'll set a time block and not have finished what I wanted to, and I don't hold myself accountable. So it's a boundary I'm working on.
Speaking of boundaries, that's the perfect segue.
Speaking of boundaries, I brought this up briefly last week when Kristen from Married at First Sight season 15 was on. So if you guys have not heard that episode yet, go listen. But we talked about boundaries because it's something I'm really trying to work on, not only my own boundaries, but also learning and respecting other people's boundaries. So have you guys ever heard of Mel Robbins' the let them theory?
I've heard of Mel Robbins, not the let them theory. But I saw someone talking to her. She was on a podcast recently.
Well, so she has her own podcast, and I heard her talk about this many, I want to say years ago, but I don't know. So I've heard her speak about this, and she just came out with a book at the end of December, but it's sold out everywhere for now. And I could do like a Kindle. Gina, I still want to look at your Kindle, but it's sold out everywhere. And I could do an audiobook or Kindle, but I want the physical book and I want to keep it forever.
I'm the Kindle queen.
You are the Kindle queen. But for anyone who's unfamiliar, the let them theory is essentially saying you cannot control other people's actions or behaviors. You can only control how you react to them. So, for example, if your friends don't want to invite you to lunch, let them. If the guy you like doesn't call you back, let him. Like, you can't change people's behavior, and you can't waste your time and energy trying to get people to get up to your expectations. So all you can do is just let them be who they are and decide if that is a behavior that's worthwhile in your life, in your circle. So I love this because I know I take things very personally when people don't do things, I don't want to say up to my standard, but when they're not up to my expectations, essentially, I think that's a personal attack on me, but it's more just someone else's behavior. And sometimes you just have to let them be. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this.
I want to say this real fast, and I definitely would love to hear from Gina too. But it's so interesting, Nicole, because this resonates with me so much because I have so many high expectations for myself and I project that onto other people, even when I set my boundaries. But my sister just told me 2 days ago, stop having expectations for people, let them. And she said that to me, and that's why I'm like, period, clocked it, got it, because I know how I show up for people, but people are not going to reciprocate that and show up for me how I show up for them. I take phone calls, I go to people's houses, I buy flowers, cards, I do all the things. And so I said, Kirsten, you know what? You need to set a boundary. You need to stop overly extending yourself to people who
That's
don't
right.
appreciate it. And not that they don't appreciate it, they don't reciprocate it. So I need it to be reciprocated, because I'm like, I know what I deserve. And so whoever wants to show up for me in my life, then that's who will. And who does not want to show up for me, not that it's intentionally, but everybody has something going on in their lives to where they can't show up how Kirsten shows up. But I've been to heaven and back this year. And so I'm still showing up.
It doesn't make you as disappointed if you lose all the expectations, right? And I think one of the biggest things is not being clear with expectations. Like I see this a lot. I used to get so frustrated in my business because like, oh, they're not doing this, they're not doing that, they don't care about the business, and they're not going to care as much as you do. But I would get so frustrated with people, but then I would have to realize like, but I didn't even tell them what my expectation was. So like I'm expecting them to act a certain way. And this is specifically like for the workplace, but then I haven't even laid out any sort of expectation. So I'm like, what are they, mind readers? Like people aren't going to read your mind. So sometimes it's just as simple as being like, hey, this is what I expect, whether it be in a friendship, in a relationship, in anything. And knowing that like people aren't perfect, they're not going to measure up to exactly what you hold as a standard for them. And so it's like, I don't know, grace is one of our core values at the salon, like
I
being able
love
to offer
that.
grace to others and know like, hey, it's okay if people don't do and measure up. Like let them be who they're going to be. Try to meet people where they're at and don't let it affect like your whole day if someone doesn't show up how you would expect them to.
That is so true. And I sometimes I struggle with that, y'all, because I will let what someone did to me consume my day. And I'm like, Kirsten, you need to redirect that energy on something a little bit more positive. Because it's like it gets you so upset and so frustrated when people don't know the mission or if we don't set those expectations. And that's why I set expectations with my family. I set expectations with whatever man I'm dating. Like they need to know, because you need to know how to come to me correctly, because I have respect and I come correctly to other people. I respect people to the highest. And so I just want to have that in return.
But at the end of the day, and I totally agree with you, like respect people how you would want to be respected, but it's the same thing with love languages. Like everyone sees respect differently. So there's core respect, like regular, decent human being ways to act. But if, for example, like my love language is not words of affirmation. So if you're always saying kind things to me, I can take that in and appreciate it. But I'm not looking at that the same way I would look at one of my other love languages. So it's the same thing, I feel like, for respect and communication. Like I communicate how I'm feeling, I have expectations. And when other people don't communicate back to me, I always take it personally. Like, oh, I'm just talking to myself here. Or I'm doing all this and no one is acknowledging or doing anything back. But the other person could very likely be thinking, oh, I've done this thing for Nicole, but just not making it known.
Yeah, people aren't going to think the same way you are.
Right.
Like if you're bringing someone a gift and you're like, oh my God, they're going to love this gift. Like this is how I show love and all of that. And they're like, okay, cool, thanks. Like they might not even notice because it's not their same love language.
Correct.
So it is. It's like being able more to control your reaction and not worrying so much about trying to change the way that someone else behaves, you know?
Exactly. That's how this all ties in. You can't change someone and how they show up for you. So you either react differently or decide that they don't belong in your circle because you value them, but you value yourself too. And I'm very excited to read the book.
Sounds good. I want to read it too. I'm going to read it on my Kindle.
I'll have to get the hard copy. I do better with hard copies because I can fold it down. I can underline things that stood out to me. But you said something, Nicole, that resonated with me the most, because it's like sometimes I think I have friends, and then when certain situations happen, I'm like, oh, that was just an associate. Like you said, like you can't always expect people to value you or show up for you how you need them to. But life is interesting.
I also remember, like, on this topic, I used to be such a yes person. Like, I
A
used to be like, yeah,
pleaser.
I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. And I remember having to create that boundary of like, why am I doing certain things when I don't want to do that at all? Like, it's not serving me at all to do that. And now it's interesting, like years later, how often I have to either say no, or I think even twice today I had like opportunities that I had to be like, hey, no, or someone would ask like, there's a class that we're hosting and someone was like, hey, can you promote this on your Instagram? And I was like, actually, I'm happy to open up my space, but I'm not going to promote that. But I used to be like such a yes person, and it would essentially push my boundaries a lot, and it would put me in this space of like being frustrated that I'm doing these things, but then I'm like, wait, I'm in control of this. Like, I'm the one
Right.
that allowed it and said yes. And so it's just interesting. That's something that I've had to learn over the years, is that like I can put that boundary up and not, even if it's going to upset someone, if you will, or they're not like totally happy with me saying no, it's like, okay, I can still say no and respect myself enough to have that boundary.
And if that person respects you, if they're going to stop being your friend or associate or whatever because you wouldn't post on Instagram, that's not someone you need in your circle. It's okay to be
Yeah.
disappointed. Like, I get disappointed if people tell me no, but I love saying no because I'd rather say no than say yes and be miserable. And in the back of my head, I'm like, I only did this because I felt bad. No one
Which
wants
I
that.
used to do
No
all the
one wants
time.
that
Oh,
at
same.
all. Yeah.
But now, if you're going to be mad because I don't show up, I'm really sorry. But if that's the definition of our relationship, then it's not a good relationship.
I used to do it with everything, even down to like picking up shifts. Like, I can think back to when I worked at a bar and they would be like, can you pick up my shift? And I'm like, yes. And I would like, why did I say that? Like, I don't want that shift. Like, I don't want it at all. And I would still go in and do it. It takes a long time to just learn boundaries and realize like you can't change people. You have to let them be them. And then you also have to just figure out what your boundaries are and what you'll accept and where you'll extend grace and try to meet someone in the middle.
Well, a boundary that I actually realized that I started working on when we were filming is I don't have a lot of patience. And I would rather say yes to something I don't want to do just to make something go quicker. So, for example, when we were filming and the producers would want us to ask questions, or they would want me to bring up a topic with Chris or whatever, I would just do it because instead of being patient and waiting for someone else to ask it or waiting for the conversation to change, I would say, you know what, I don't want to wait for this, so let me just do it. And then I would always be annoyed that I was doing something I wasn't comfortable with for the sake of just getting the show on the road, for lack of a better phrase. But that actually works really well. So that's something I'm working on now because I realize if I have patience and just wait for someone else to do something, for example, even at work, I could just be patient and wait, or I could take it on myself and put myself through the ringer doing extra work. So that's a boundary that I definitely learned I had to put in place during filming and I'm trying to work on now. But it's hard. It's hard to have boundaries with yourself and with other people. So it's a constant struggle.
Well, the balance and the boundaries look different between everyone. You know, it's like something that I think we can all learn from being on reality TV. It's important to know what your boundaries are so that you can be firm on them. I'm trying to think of anything from like being filming and stuff that I felt like my boundaries were pushed. I remember that Clint and I both at one point were like, you have to give us a Google Calendar. Like, we were like, you're not just going to like throw filming on us. Like, we are not going to do that every day. And so they made us like a full calendar finally. And we collabed on it with them. And we like we would not film outside of like the calendar time.
We told them our availability, and that's when they came. I feel like for me, I know that I could be very assertive, and sometimes I could come off very like strong. So I definitely have to like kind of take a step back and say, okay, what is my tone? I have to check my tone because sometimes people think it's rude when I'm speaking to them in an assertive way. But I'm like, no, I need this done. And this is what time we're going to do it. And this is how we're going to do it. And so I give very concrete instructions because I know for a fact how I want something to look. I know what I want and I know how I want it done. So I just know sometimes for me, I set very clear boundaries and expectations for people on the front end, even with real estate, because with clients, sometimes they'll walk all over you. They're like, well, I want to go see this house, this house, this house, and this house. Question: what was your loan? What was your loan amount you were approved for?
Yeah.
because we're not going to go see something that's $100,000 over your loan. You can go see it yourself and let me know how it goes. So it's like you have to set expectations on the front end. I think I do very well when it comes to business for speaking up with myself, but in my personal life, I struggle. Like, I struggle speaking my mind. I struggle with Shaquille on the show, like being vulnerable.
We know.
Not too much. Not too much. Don't you clock it, Nicole. Don't you clock
That
it?
wasn't shade. That wasn't
was
shade. That
shade.
was me. No, that was me purely saying, like, I wish you would divulge more information, but I feel like any nugget of personal info I get from you, I have to put in a little safe in my heart because I know that it's the only nugget for a little bit longer. So I wish I could pull it out of you. That was no shade at all. That was just me wanting to love you more, but I can't if you don't let me in.
I know. And I have a hard time with letting my guard down because I do protect my heart. But you're in my heart now. I tell you my business. You know my business.
I mean, if I'm not in there by now, then you have problems that we need to talk about because
Right.
we should all be in there.
I have trust issues, okay? I'm not gonna lie. But it's not that I have trust issues, it's just that I try to internalize a lot of things on my own because I've always been an independent woman. Like, I've worked since I was the age of 13. Like, I've always done for myself. So it's like I don't want to feel like a burden if I'm like, hey, Nicole, let me tell you about my day today. I wasn't feeling the best. Shaquille pissed me off. Like, I didn't want that to always be what was going on with me because I was stressed out to the max when it came to that show. Because I was like, what did I get myself into? My life has changed overnight. And millions of people are watching us again. So it's like now I'm not even stressed out about it anymore. I give thanks to God. I say, God, you know what to do with it. I'm not going to stress myself out.
Take that wheel.
Take the wheel, Jesus. I'm a firm believer. So I'm just like, I sit back and I let the people get their little fingers going on the internet. And that's for them to worry about. Why am I going to stress myself out? I look too good to be stressed. Like, I'm not going to do that. I don't need more gray hairs. But yeah, so I just feel like the healthier we are mentally, the healthier we are with our boundaries, the healthier we are with our work balance, and the healthier we are when we're able to be vulnerable and speak up, regardless if it's in family relationships, friend relationships, or work relationships. And I feel like as women, we have to stick together and sit there and support and hear each other out and here to understand and to listen and not to respond sometimes. Like, people think that they just have to respond if you're telling them, hey, I didn't like the way you spoke with me that day, and this is what I meant, and it translated differently. People always think that they have to, like, say something back. Sometimes you just say, okay, I'm sorry that I spoke that way. Let's move forward.
Right. Message received. You made me think of a piece of advice that someone gave me once because you said the word burden. And I feel like I always have that feeling. I don't want to be a burden. And honestly, can't remember who told me this, but I was saying this to her many years ago. And she said, if you ever feel like you're about to be a burden to someone, say, hey, do you have the mental capacity, emotional capacity, whatever you want to call it, to take on right now? I'm about to tell you a story, or I'm about to vent, or whatever it is that might be emotionally tolling. And this way you give that other person the chance to say, you know, I'm not really in a good space right now. I can't take that on. Or yes, sure, of course. Because my immediate reaction is no one could ever be a burden if you love them, but we can. We can definitely burden our loved ones with our stories or our stress. But the respect of asking someone, that has made me feel a lot less of a burden.
I agree. And at this point, everybody just need to pay for a licensed person, a therapist, to tell their stories to. And then if they want to share with family after they pass that moment, then they can.
I love it.
I'm actually in therapy now, to admit it. And I'm still trying to be accepting of it. So,
well, I'm very proud of you. And thank you for sharing with us and with our listeners, because I think that's something we need to be putting out in the forefront. Why are we putting mental health to the side these days?
Therapy's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, therapy is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength.
Strength. That's right.
well, thank y'all. That makes me feel so much better.
Self-awareness is a strength, you know, and you can't
Yeah.
really gain that unless you're taking the time to find someone to help you figure it out.
Right.
And we're always here for you. You know, we're all here for each other, and we're very proud of any steps anyone's taking to better themselves. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited that we get to spend the rest of the year and our lives helping each other grow, because these conversations are honestly so helpful. Sometimes I know I feel very alone in these feelings. So to know that you guys are feeling the same way, even if it looks a little different, makes me feel better. And I'm sure our listeners can relate as well.
Yes, they can.
But we're going to end this on a high note. Not really high, but we're going to end it on a positivity note. And I just want us to share some recommendations. It could be literally anything, a book, movie, makeup product, whatever, vacation you went on, because I feel like anytime I listen to a podcast recently, they mention something, whether it's sponsored or not. I'm like, ooh. So I'm being influenced by podcasts since TikTok will probably be no longer.
Band. Yeah. So, what are your recommendations, Nicole? What do you recommend?
I spoke about this little last week, but I have to do another plug is Traders USA started on Peacock, the third season. It's not as good as the first two seasons so far, but if you've never watched it, it has strategy, it has drama, it has entertainment, there's housewives, there's drag queens. It's crazy, and I recommend it. And my other recommendation is Trader Joe's makes a maple butter. And it's in a little jar, so you can get it and keep it in your fridge, whatever. But you put a little bit of that and some sea salt in your iced coffee, cold brew, iced espresso, whatever it is you're drinking. And it is a magical drink.
I gotta go. I'm heading to Trader Joe's. I'm on my way.
Amazing.
Cold drinks in the winter are hard, but this makes it a little more hearty. So you're welcome.
I set up like David was leaning back and you talked about that. I was like,
You're
wait,
like
what?
maple butter?
And if you say anything with like sea salt and iced coffee, I'm like, what?
You heard it here.
Love it.
You heard it first here at D-List Diaries.
Let's see. What did I want to share? I always feel like I should do beauty products.
Go for it.
One thing that I love that's like such an easy buy and it's not expensive is the L'Oreal. It's called like Luby Glotion. Have you heard of
Love.
this?
Love.
It's amazing. It's literally like $8. It doesn't like clog your pores or anything. I truly think the older I've gotten, the more I've focused on my skincare. And so I like don't wear a ton of makeup anymore, but I love just like a tinted moisturizer and then bronzer. But the Lumi Glotion is perfect because it's not like a coverage thing. It's almost like a BB cream. And so it is amazing. Do we want TV show or my Trader Joe's pick?
Just do both.
Okay. So my Trader Joe's pick is they have a cinnamon roll pancake mix. And it
What?
is straight fire. It's so good. Cinnamon roll pancake
Need.
mix. Look it up. It's
Take me
delicious.
to Trader Joe's with y'all.
We need a trip. They have the best floral selection too.
Our next episode, live from Trader Joe's.
Live from Trader Joe's. Get you some flowers.
And then my TV show is like probably what everyone's been watching, and I didn't even watch the first season. I dove into the second season, but it's Squid Games. Came out. I was really pissed about the ending. I didn't watch the first season, I think, because I was like single and it's pretty intense. But this one, I watched with my boo and it's fine. And I got really into it. Was so mad about the ending, but I did find out for our listeners that they waited 2 years to release season 2, but I guess season 3 releases this summer. Because the ending was such a cliffhanger, I honestly was mad. I was like, wait, I just watched the whole season of this and this is what I'm left with.
I want to go on Squid Games. I want to go.
I know. I would love to go on that reality TV show. But this was the actual like Korean version. I will say you have to either watch it dubbed in English, which you do forget that it's a dubbed version, or you can watch subtitles. Or if you're Nicole, you can do both.
And you know, I have to watch subtitles.
That's what I'm saying.
I am not alone out there because after that episode came out, I got many emails and messages. So thank you everyone for agreeing with me that so many people out there need subtitles to hear. So I'm not the only cuckoo one who needs the subtitles to hear the TV. So I feel validated. Thank you.
You're not, Nicole. Sometimes I use subtitles too, not only to hear, but also I learn new words. So when I used to watch The Blacklist with Raymond Reddington,
Loved that show.
yes, his vernacular was like incredible. And so I used to learn new words because I had on the CC. But I'm going to share with you guys what I'm eating this week and my workouts. And then I also want to share, I guess, maybe this lip I have on. So the lip I have on, you can find it at Walgreens, Kroger, Sephora, anywhere. But you go and get the NYX red lip. They have a couple of different shades. I'll probably post it on my story later so you guys can have more info. So do follow your girl on Instagram. And so this week I always eat the same thing, but I switched it up. So I went to Publix because we had a couple of snow flurries that happened here in Nashville, and everybody thought that it was the apocalypse and went and took all the groceries out of the store. Empty shelves. Okay, so I have to be dramatic because it was very dramatic. No bread, no eggs, no milk, everything gone. Chicken gone.
Why are people not grabbing like Doritos? Why do people
Yeah.
always get bread and milk like they eat that on a regular basis?
I got brownie mix. That's it.
right? Like normal snacks.
I got some pancake mix that's Crackle Barrel. I added vanilla extract.
Crackle.
Say
It's cracker,
crack.
not crackle.
I like how she says it. That's fun.
I went and
Crackle
got
Barrel?
some Cracker Barrel pancake mix from Kroger. I added some cinnamon in it. I added vanilla extract. And then I added bananas and chocolate chips because I usually go to First Watch to get this specific type of pancake. I'm very specific when it comes to everything, first of all. Super annoying. But I made my own. Instead of going to First Watch, it was Kirsten Watch. And I made my own Cracker Barrel pancakes with banana and chocolate chips. Delicious. So I made that, and then I always eat spaghetti squash every week because it's easy. You cut the spaghetti squash in half, you add marinara, and you add some cheese on top. Easy peasy. So, and then I work out 4 times a week, and I do 3 miles, and sometimes I do legs and glutes. So everybody, let me tell you something. Love yourself, get in that gym, and get your lives together. Set those boundaries. Love y'all.
Set those boundaries. That is it. On period, as Kirsten likes to say.
Clock it.
Yeah. Ah,
Clock it.
Jenna was ready.
She's been watching. She's been watching our episodes.
I love it. Did Chris say clock it? Or am I making it
Chris
up?
did. He did, and he regretted it severely because now I say it so often in the house, and then he hears me listening to our podcast and hears you say it and then me say it and then you say it and I say it, and he's like, I wish I had never said that, because he cannot escape it. The poor man.
He can't. All men clock it too, and I love it. My dad even did it one day, and like my sister's friend, he did it one day, and so
funny.
it's a universal thing at this point. Like, just clock it. That's it.
You started a trend, baby girl. Ladies, thank you for sharing your recommendations and spending time with me on this nice evening. It's so great to have us all back together. And thank you, listeners, for tuning into another episode of D-List Diaries. We hope you liked what you hear. And if you do, leave us a review. It really helps. We're getting up there on those Apple podcast charts, and we need your positive reviews. Your negativity, as always, can stay with you inside. And email us at dlistdiaries@gmail.com. Reach out on Instagram, like, subscribe, do all the things, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.